Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is the pre-release weekend. We're recording, so it's super exciting. We just got off playing a whole bunch of pre-releases locally. Alex did. We'll find out how many Alex did in a few minutes, but I'm wagering it's probably 4. Unless he got crazy, went to 2 every day. So we'll see how many he went to. But a lot of fun this weekend. I went to 3 pre-releases myself. Had a lot of fun. Being able to test out this new set. Before we get too far into it, I want to announce something that we are doing. So tonight, not tonight for this video, but for the next video that we are going to be giving away sets of these tokens. So I will have sets of 3 that we'll be giving out to people. What you have to do is you have to comment, subscribe, and please share, but at least comment and subscribe saying, hey, I'm here. I want to be a part of this raffle, and I'll be raffling them off in 2 weeks. So this video is going to be up. We're going to go over for 2 weeks. If you don't know what these are, these came from Curl Paw Creative. I purchased these tokens. I thought they were kind of cool looking, and then what I did is started using them this weekend, and like, holy crap, everybody liked them. So I was like, hey, maybe we'll do a giveaway on the show. Let some other people get a chance to get their hands on these. If you don't live in the United States, you will have to pay shipping. If I have to ship outside of the United States, I cannot afford to do that. But if you would like to participate in it, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, throw a comment in there, and we'll do a raffle here in the next week or 2. With that being said, let's bring in my co-host for tonight. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Alex, the bench warmer. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing okay. Just got back in from a pre-release. Pulled some wild cards at that store, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, I'm just ready for this actual set to drop so I can start building, filling out my collection and actually building decks.
How many pre-releases did you hit?
Joke's on you. I only went to 2.
Oh.
One on Friday, 1 today, nothing on Saturday, but I will be at mine that I run on Monday tomorrow, and then RAW's on Tuesday.
I know it's sad. Originally, I was supposed to actually go out to Detroit for work this week, and they postponed it. And I was going to leave early on Saturday or early on Monday, hit your pre-release, and then I could just go hang out, and we just hang out, and I'll crash on your couch or something like that, or my buddy's couch. I'll find somewhere to crash for one day because they were gonna. You live out pretty close to Royal Oak, so I just had to be at Royal Oak at 5 a.m. So we went party, but I get to go to your pre-release, and that would have been a lot of fun. Also joining me on the mic is JJ. How are you tonight, sir?
Doing all right. I had planned to go to 2 separate pre-releases this weekend. Unfortunately, I had my daughter get hurt, which we had to take care of her this weekend. Unfortunately, she broke 2 pinky toes on her toe, and we got to get her into a boot. So she's hobbling around, unfortunately. But things happen when you have kids. But to make up for it, been playing a lot of testing a lot of decks and really having a lot of fun with Poe Dameron playing Thrawn. That's been my favorite so far, Thrawn Green. And yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. I went to 3 pre-releases, one that I ran, and 2 other ones. One was pretty, I'll just say, not my favorite. There was no prize support outside of OP packs, so that was a little odd. But we had a good turnout at everyone we went to. Everyone we went to had more than 16 people. The last one we went to was last night. They had over 26 people playing there, and that was a lot of fun. I was very against running Vader just because I did not want to be that guy that ran Vader like everybody else. And so the first pre-release I went to for mine, I ran Thrawn Green, which was super fun. I did okay with it. I went 2 and 2. And that was it was a little sad, but there was a Kaz deck that really could just push damage through no matter what. And stuff like that. So it was fun. And then I ran the second pre-release. I ran a Ray Yellow, which I don't know. I guess it's not Ray. I'm sorry. What's the one that you predicted? Rose. There you go. Rose. Rose. Yeah, I ran Ray Yellow in this one. No, I ran Rose Yellow, and she was like at first I was like, I don't care about her ability. I just really want. I have the synergy, and then like 3 out of the 4 games, her ability mattered every game. I only lost 1 game. And of course it was to John, the guy that I swear to God, I always lose to this guy. He's like, he is one of our top players in the area, but I like consistently lose to John every single time. But yeah, that was the only loss I had for that one. And then I played Vader yellow because I got a bunch of Vader cards to go very low to the ground. Like I had like 3 or 4 wingmen on each side, the Kajimi flyers. I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to play a low to the ground Vader. And, the MVP, like for me, the weekend was that stupid Mando card. In my pre-release, I pulled 2 Mandos.
Nice.
Okay.
He's uncommon. It's not crazy.
I had 2 him and 2 Bosks. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm just going to run yellow Vader with those pilot upgrades. And, if they ran space, Mando just came out and was like, sorry, guys, you're just not doing anything. At one point, I think I had over 10 TIE Fight tokens on the board, and my opponent was just like, this is ridiculous. How do you have this many TIE Fighter tokens? I was like, well... and then I was able to run 3 ships into his leader, Luke, and then that's what basically got me the game. So I came in 3rd. In that one, we did 5 rounds. I went 4-1. There was one other guy that was 4-1 with me, and then there was John went 5-0. So, and John was my 1 loss again, and he was running Vader blue, and it came down to 1 stupid action and not being able for me to pull one of my 5 Sentinels that I had in my yellow deck, and just wasn't able to stop him. So that was fun. I learned what that Focus Fire card does this weekend, by the way. If you didn't know what that Focus Fire card does, I learned really hard what that card did. I had an opponent pass. Like, they use all of their units, and then they just let me swing in with all my TIE fighters, and I had 1 TIE fighter left, and I flipped Vader to put him on there, and they Focus Fired it. And I was like, sad day. I was very sad by that. My Vader was very sad. I learned very quickly to play around that card. So, but other than that, I think pre-release weekend was fun. I will say I am not a fan of Carbonites anymore. And next set I'm going to buy 1, and that's it. And screw everybody who had better luck than me. So,
how many did you buy? What do you mean you're only going to buy 1? You bought 3? Jesus, man.
Yeah, I got 3 of them, 0 showcases, and 0 serialized cards. So, yeah.
Damn.
So, last night was just kind of one of the we found out we're getting I'm getting a $250 bonus. So I was like, well, that's like a Carbonite pack right there. So I'll just spend my bonus. I get it on Friday, so I could just put this one on my credit card. I'll get my bonus and pay my credit card off. And well, I didn't pull anything. I was hoping to get, like, you would think I would have at least got 1 showcase to sell, or like a freaking, if I had a serialized card, like I could have sold that just to pay for the thing. Nope.
Yeah, I think the serialized cards are something like obscenely small pull rate. Like it was like 12 Carbonite boxes have the serialized.
Well, that's good to know, because some people were thinking it was like 1 in 4, like 1 per display.
No,
and
I think
I was like,
I think Excel opened up like 9 Carbonite boxes between everyone that was there, and 1 person got a serialized card, and that wasn't from any of the boxes. It was just like a freestanding pack.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't buy as many normal boxes this time. I only bought 2 normal booster boxes because the problem is I keep going to these pre-releases, and that's what happened last time. Is I bought like 2 cases, and then I went to the pre-releases, and then I just ended up with so many cards I didn't need. And so this time around, I said 2 boxes just because I really like opening packs, and I wanted the Carbonite stuff because I was hoping for like a serialized in there. I have a play set of like hyper foil prestige Vader cards, so that I guess is kind of cool. I don't know what those are worth. They're probably not worth anything. But if I do decide to play those, at least I can play that in my Vader deck, and it'll look cool, and I don't have to buy them. So,
my buddy opened up his first box. He had 10 legendaries.
Yep,
including a playset of Hondo.
Oh, that's crazy. What's up with this Hondo thing? Yeah. Yeah, we had a guy over here who bought a case and a half.
A case and a half of just boxes
of carbonite. Oh
my
God. Yeah.
That's 6 boxes. That's like $1,800.
Well, I mean, there's
minus for discounts, so it's probably
like
15 or whatever, but still like huge.
Yeah, we had so the some of the guys bought anywhere between 6 and 8. We had a guy that was on box 9, I think, by Saturday night.
What?
So
crazy.
1, save some for the rest of us, but 2, Jesus. Okay, sure.
Yeah, so our store ordered 30 boxes of it, and we sold out at the beginning. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
Hondos.
Insane. Yeah, that's insane that you guys have 30 sold out carbonite boxes.
Yeah, we had 20 of them, about 20 of them I think sold by before pre-release event. And then I bought a few, and then there was a couple of other guys who like said that they wanted like 4, and we told them they could only have 2, and they ended up buying 2 more while they were sitting around there. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, next set, like I think at the carbon, I think people thought the serialize rate was higher than what it is, but we had at least 5 or 6 of my locals who bought 3 or more boxes got serialized cards. So
fair enough.
But so that was a wild weekend. I was not super happy with my pulls, and I am now going to have to figure out how to sell some of my stuff. I think to pay off that credit card bill. But. Yeah, it is what it is. So it's like, it's fun opening them. I will tell you, it's a lot more fun to open those prestige packs or those carbonite packs than like anything else. Like, holy crap! Like, so like I have a prestige, whatever the highest non-serialized of like Devastator, Executioner, and Annihilator. I have all 3 of those too.
Just the foil versions of them.
Yeah, just crazy. And the best was, and I didn't know this. My son actually told me this. The Vader leader card, that Victor leader. There's the red. I think it's the red 3 or the red 5. The cards you could put them next to each other and they match. I have both foils of those, so that's hilarious. Like I feel like taking them and like getting those like I don't know, whatever people do with them to put them in those cases and hanging them on a wall because they look cool together. Like holy crap, do they look amazing together?
You can do the same thing with the Phantom and the Ghost.
Can you? I think I have a Phantom and a Ghost. I don't think they're both foils though. So I do have a Ghost foil, but
Phantom and Ghost, and then there's one other one that you can do like side by side. They're like the same thing. I'm blanking on it, but like yeah, that's really cool. I'm such a sucker for those kinds of things.
Yeah, they just look like he put them together and he's like, see, at least you got this.
I think it's like Home 1 in Red Leader or something crazy like that.
Is it? That'd be cool too. I got a Home 1 as well. I got like 6 Home 1s. Like
nice.
Not all prestige though, but I got at least 1 or 2 Home 1 prestiges, and then like some of my box, like I ended up with, in the first 2 boxes I opened, I ended up with 15 to 20 legendaries roughly between prestiges and everything. It was just like the pull rate was crazy for legendary stuff in there. I don't know. So it was a fun weekend overall. No showcases though, so I don't know if people need prestige cards. I will happily trade away for showcases, I guess. So I'm looking for a Thrawn and a Vader. Those are the 2 big chase ones. I would take a Kaz as well. So I saw somebody selling a Kaz for 160, and I might just buy it before it goes up in price because I think they're gonna hit 300 for Kaz's.
Oh man, a lot more prestige boxes out there, right? So the pull rates for showcases might be higher.
Yeah, I hope it is, and I hope it drives the cost down. And like, so I'm on the verge of debating whether I want to spend any more money now or just wait till this Friday and see what they all settle in at over the weekend, and then start snatching them up. Because I don't know if I want to hold one, but I tell you that Hold'em showcase, somebody pulled one of those. Like, holy crap, that looked like I don't want to play her as a leader, but man, that was a beautiful showcase. Like her hair pops, just like, oh my gosh, like just it's amazing. And man, I'll tell you that Home 1, I love that Home 1 prestige card. I just like, I don't know if I'll ever play it, but man, that card looks amazing. All right, well, enough of that. What I wanted to do before we go too far is I kind of want to talk a little bit about reflections from the weekend and do just kind of a, did these cards over improve? Did they under improve? How did we feel they did based on Alex's predictions for our group? And so give me. So, sorry, I've talked all weekend and I'm very tired. And we lost an hour this weekend.
Yeah, we did.
Hold on, now I got to write this stupid time down. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about what cards we felt did well for Sealed and if they are going to be good in Premier. Welcome to our discussion on, I don't know, like sealed cards. Did they perform? Did they not perform? All of that fun stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the cards I felt were like overperformed this weekend comparatively that were really, really good. And then take a look a little bit back at Alex's list again, and we can kind of see, did we have anything that kind of stood out, or was Alex just spot on for his discussion? So why don't we kick it off? Like, before we get into the cards I felt, why don't we talk a little bit to Alex, the curator of the list?
What do you want me to talk about? Any cards that I thought overperformed, or what? Or like my opinions on the cards? I only played 2 seal events though.
Your opinions on the cards.
Well,
and if you were accurate or not.
I think I was relatively accurate. Nothing really honestly surprised me too much in any of the packs. Like the cards that I thought would be pretty good were, performed well enough for me. I don't think there was one that really like stuck out as like, wow, this was significantly better than I thought it would be. Although I did have an invisible hand in my Vader deck, and I pulled like 3 vultures and like IG-88 and like the HMP, so I managed to actually like pull droids off of that, which was awesome. Surprising, but probably not particularly incredible. It just happened to work pretty well. I don't know, maybe that Quasar TIE carrier performed a little bit better than I thought it would, just because it wasn't complete garbage.
Yeah, it's still 5/7 in space, right?
Yeah, and you create TIE tokens, but it doesn't really impact too much, but it does help you close out games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So looking at your list here, the leader piece of it, like, so I don't think I played against an Asajj. I did play Rose, and I had pretty good success with Rose. I had good success with Vader, Boba Fett, nothing similar there. The one leader that did a lot better than we thought it would be Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker, they're topped almost every one of the events if they got decent pulls for him. But there was like, we had a guy swing for 13 with his Luke Skywalker every time, and there was just like no stopping some of it. And the Luke being able to do some of that damage was able to keep some of the decks that had like units that had lower health but higher output off the board like crazy. Luke's ability was very, very, very relevant. Him coming out on 6 really sucked. But we saw quite a few of the Luke decks do decently well. At least Luke green decks did decently well. I won't say the Luke blue deck did very good at all, but the green ones did.
I'm glad you had Luke's by you, because all of them by us didn't do well. But again, it really depends on how much like fighters you had. Like one Luke deck did really well, but they also had like double red 5 and like a ton of like really, really strong, like Chewbacca and a bunch of really strong cards.
Yep.
Which is why I'm like, I'll put him in the okay tier, because it kind of really depends on your pool. He's not particularly good in upon himself.
Yeah. If we go down and we just look a little bit at the rares, I don't think there was any rares that really stood out any better than the other ones. The rares really just kind of hit where they needed to hit, right? You know, like Boba Fett was astounding. Sedan was astounding. Ahsoka, I hated playing against Ahsoka. I'll tell you that. Like, Ahsoka just sucked playing against. Losing that card was horrible. I will say, you know, like, I think I don't think any of the rares really performed better than what they should have, other than I will say, like, the Invincible Hand did better, kind of, in terms of it just being a bigger space unit, but that's about it. Like, it was just an easier, cheaper, bigger space unit that you could deal with, or you had a harder time dealing with. But outside of that, I don't think there was any other rares that really performed better than others.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, like 6/6 is nice, but there's also a whole bunch of other like,
yeah,
like the hero one that's like what, like a 6/7. Like,
mm-hmm.
Isn't that just kind of better? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seemed. I agree. Sorry,
yeah.
Go on.
No, you're fine. So, these are just, like I said, these are kind of like, I feel like Alex hit most of these on the head. I did throw a few in the dock that I think were better than maybe we predicted. Some of them we did predict, but essentially, like, I'll just pick on the Mandalorian. Like, Alex put Iden in there. When Iden came out, Iden just won games. Like, I don't know why, but Iden just being able to, like, shield whatever. Like, somebody put her on a freaking one of those stupid Dengar ships, whatever they call them, those contracted
The Jump
ships.
Masters?
Yeah. The contracted Jump Master, there you go, or whatever it is. Like, that card's okay, right? It's a 2/4 Sentinel. You put a shield on it, and now it's, you know, now it's a 5/7, and you're like, and the upgrade hate was a lot less in pre-release than it will be obviously in Premiere. And so, like, if you got Iden to stick, Merry Christmas. Like, there was not much you could do. This timely reinforcement, I don't remember where we put this on the sheet. Do we have that one in there?
Well, yeah, we have it in there. Was it not? Oh, I have it in probably bad plus. So, like, between probably bad and okay.
Gotcha. That card was nuts. If you had a deck that was spamming stuff. So, like, I didn't draw this for any of my for my Vader deck, but if I had this for my Vader deck, everything just would have been crazy. But you can, for every 2 resources they control, you could create an X-Wing token and give it Sentinel. And so, like, I watched the guy play that card and drop 4 X-Wing tokens, and they all had Sentinel, and they just couldn't get through them. Now Rio could get through them, right? You know, like, Rio was really good at getting through them, but this guy was playing against a Vader deck, and they couldn't swing through these stupid X-Wings. They either had to, like, concede and go to the next round or take care of the X-Wing. So that card, like, I didn't like this card in any way, shape, or form until we played this in sealed, and I had this played against me twice, and then watched it once, and it for 5 resources, it was pretty bloody good.
Oh, I didn't care when my opponent played it. It did literally nothing against me. Like, I was just like, whatever. I'll kill your X-Wing. I'll kill your X-Wing. Oh, you put Vader on an X-Wing. I'll just kill it too. Okay. All my units lived. Whatever.
Now, then either you're a better player or you don't. You had. I
just don't think it's worth, like, the 5 resources. It's better, I think, in limited than constructed. I just, I don't know. You and I played drastically different pre-releases, apparently.
Yeah. Same with this Mandalorian. I had 2 of these. This guy overperformed for me all weekend, just putting him on and being able to exhaust the ship and then attack with it. Like, as long as I got it early game. If you got it late game, it didn't really do a heck of a lot. But early game, it was, like, super good. I played this in my Rose deck, which I thought was crazy. Like, I was like, maybe I'll play this, but, like, it's a 2-cost 3/1, and, like, I don't know. You could you could put it on, what's that? I don't remember the 3/5 Sentinel that blue has for
the ground one.
Yeah, the ground one. You could put him on that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that until then. And you put him on that, and now that, like, go ahead and hit my Sentinel, like, you're gonna die no matter what. And so, I don't know. That was really good in the Rose deck and in the Vader deck.
I had my opponent hard pay 7 for the Mandalorian
Wow.
to play it, to exhaust my 2 ground units that I had in my deck, because they have no spaceships for them to put it onto.
I mean, it worked kind of, like, I guess.
I just
guess.
turbo laser blasted it next turn.
Like, it's just, I don't know. I thought about paying 7 for it, and I didn't. The only unit I paid 7 for was Bosk. I put Bosk on the ground a couple times, and then I put those stupid wing leader guys on the ground. Those guys are hilarious on the ground sometimes too if they have no ground units. Like, if you don't care about the extra token or whatever, like in my Thrawn deck, they would kill my space, and then I would just throw one of those guys on the ground, and then there's like, you know, what a 3/4 or whatever just sitting there waiting for the U. I don't remember where you had Focus Fire either, but this card
was also okay.
This card was stupid if they had any sort of like a high value unit out there. So like, again, when they had, like with Vader, they had a Vader out there that was great, or like the Luke. A lot of these Luke decks were running this too, and so they could hold this card and then flip Luke and then be able to play it because there wasn't as much hand hate. I don't know in Premiere if this will be good, but at least in Sealed, this card, like, I watched it win people games. They just wiped the board.
Well, what are your opponents doing? Like, I just killed everyone's space units. They couldn't play Focus Fire against me. Like, most games they had maybe 2 space units out total against me. Which, you know, Focus Fire is great if you have a bunch of space units to like blow up one of their huge ones, right? Why are your opponents letting you have that many space units? This is wild to me. I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I have it in okay. I have Mandalorian in okay. I have Iden in probably good, so nothing crazy.
Yeah, and this Sidarian guy was like, that guy was sweet. Like, but I think you had him in probably good. So like, he was this hands down was like the VIP for my deck, both of my yellow decks.
Yeah,
like, I got
careless position that takes up their pilot spot.
Yep, I got 2 of them in 2 different pre-releases. Like, it was like my Rose deck had 2 of those, and my Vader deck had 2 of them. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play this guy because this guy's crazy, you know. I thought this hover tank was good. I know you said you didn't like it as much, but like this felt better just because it was another ground sentinel. So what people were doing is not throwing their leaders on like ships. Yeah, they're just throwing them on the ground. Everybody was just putting their leader on the ground.
What are they doing?
I don't know. Like,
this is the new set, right? They can go on vehicles. Says so on the card.
I know people were just worried about, like, I don't know what it was, but they were like, I was like, all right, whatever. So like, that card, I played that card. I had one of that with that card in my deck, and like, I didn't use it very much, but people use the stupid card against me. You know, like when Vader, when you have a 1/1 tie for Vader, do you put him on the 1/1 tie or on the ground? Well, I forgot about this stupid sentinel, and yeah, my Vader was a little sad.
You live through it.
You do live through it. Yep. And my Vader was just a little bit sad though. Electromagnetic pulse was astounding. But I think we had that in there pretty good as well. And this stupid red 5, I
have a funny thing about electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah, what's that?
They did it to IG-88.
Oh, did they?
Because he is a droid. So they did 2 damage to him and exhausted him. Like, well, there goes that. Okay, fair enough.
That's hilarious. But is he the only droid too? No, there's another astromech that you can play on the ground too, isn't there? There's a blue one.
Yeah, I mean, like the astromech pilot, like R2D2, I guess probably counts too, but he's the biggest one.
Yeah, that's hilarious though.
It's just like, oh, you're not wrong. That's fair. That sucks. Okay. Missing out on 7 damage. Fair enough.
All right, JJ, we'll move on to yours. These are the ones JJ felt were overperforming this weekend. I think we had Poe and Lauren all in are pretty good.
And Dorsal.
Dorsal's
yeah. So just a funny story on Dorsal. I happened to play this against a Vader deck. I had this in my Green Throne deck, and I had had my Chimera out. It had deployed the TIE fighters, the token TIE fighters out there, and then I had it ready. my opponent had set up his Vader on Victor 3 or Victor Leader, and then they had passed. I had a TIE fighter that was readied. I attached a dorsal turret to it and then just slammed it right into Vader, and boom. Goodbye, Vader. Goodbye, Victor 3 in one fell swoop for a 1-cost upgrade. It was just absolutely silly, and it was just great. It was perfect. But yeah, the dorsal turret on these TIE fighter tokens is just ridiculous. I absolutely love it, though. It's really great. Admiral Yularen is another card that I played around with a bit on different decks. Combined the Admiral Yularen with timely reinforcements, you can potentially have it really works best when you're playing later on in the game. If the game gets to like the 7th or 8th round, or when you're playing against a deck that likes to ramp up a lot and have a lot of resources, being able to have potentially 3 to 4 X-Wings out there and then play Admiral Yularen, so that way all your X-Wings have Sentinel and you give them shields on top of that, or Restore 1, which is really great. You're essentially recouping 4 health. Felt really, really good in that particular combo there. You are sacrificing some other plays in that instance as well, and you're just hoping that your opponent just doesn't take out your tokens. But when it does work, it definitely can put a halt to the space side if your opponent has no saboteurs there. Of course, it's not going to really work against Rio so much, but you at least have that flexibility with Yularen to change what you need to, right? Either giving them grit or shields or a restore. A lot of great options. And then Poe Dameron, oh my goodness, that guy just hopping on constantly. He felt like the human version of Brutal Tradition, and he was just so fun to constantly buff up different vehicles that are out on the board. So much utility with him, just him jumping around all over the board. Had a lot of fun playing Poe. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. That's kind of really I don't know, Alex, did you have anything else you really want? I mean, those felt like kind of what we see for the pre-release. I mean, there'll be future sealed events I think people can play in, but usually this is the biggest weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wish I played in a couple more. I only had 2, so didn't get to play in a large variety of stuff, but it was fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us for that segment. Reminder, you can hit our video up that I'm going to release, then register to win some tokens. All right, well, why don't we go and move on to our Academy training. We're going to talk a little bit about the new rules and interactions, some clarifications, things Alex kind of brought up, or has brought up about questions that he's received. Without further ado, join us in our Academy training. Welcome to our Academy training. Thank you all so much for joining us. Remember, click on the link in the description and you can sign up for a raffle to be a part of our giveaway for some TIE Fighter X-Wing tokens. But enough of that. We got some new rules. We got some cool stuff going on. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, what are we going to do? So what I wanted to do is go over a few of the erratas that kind of came up real quick, and then get into some weird rules interactions that Alex has discovered through the weekend. So essentially, the official comprehensive rules document will be amended to essentially explain what the piloting keyword is when an ability attaches a unit or leader to another unit as an upgrade. For example, the piloting keyword. Any restrictions from that ability continues to apply to that card until it leaves play. For a unit to be considered eligible for that upgrade, the upgrade must have been able to be attached to that unit via the original ability. So that was the big, I think that was like their bigger one that they kind of talked about. They also, they went over that. Alex, I don't know if that's not really any new revelation. I don't think really.
No, it's mostly just being like, hey, it gains these abilities and it has to be eligible for Hondo, right? The new double blue Hondo, or the Survivor's Gauntlet. Kind of the interaction, you in order to play it on there, you have to do that. And one pilot a ship unless it says otherwise, right? So
yeah. I had somebody play one of those shuttle T well, I don't know what they are, like, and steal. Like, I played one of those Vipers, Star Vipers. I guess the 2 shields, and they play it. They steal the 1 shield. I still had 3 other actions, so I had to like take my other actions, right? And then they claim they then swing with it, take the other stupid shield from it. I'm like, come on, I had 2 shields.
Normally when I see those Cloak Star Vipers, I just play Piercing Shot and just blow up all their shields and do 3 damage to them.
You could do that too, and that's super fun. And then
it's so tragic.
You just cry a little bit. So
I love Star Vipers so much. It hurt to do that.
Yeah. So JJ, we had a few other erratas. You want to cover the other erratas real quick? They're, again, I don't think they're anything revolutionary. What they are considering these are as clarifications. And that's kind of how they explained it in the stream. Is there was some clarifications that they had to put in there in case you're looking at a card and don't quite understand exactly what they do.
Yeah, and for the majority of these are it's still functionally the same for the majority of these cards there. They just wanted to make sure they cleaned up some of the language on there just for like future releases and stuff. So the first one here we got is the Blizzard Assault AT-AT from the original Spark of Rebellion deck. It reads, while attacking, this unit may deal its excess damage to an enemy ground unit. Next one we have is from the Shadows of the Galaxy pack, the Bo-Katan Kryze. It reads, on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. Then, if you attack with another Mandalorian unit this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. It could be to the same unit or a different unit. The next one we got here is Mix of Mayfield, also from the Shadows of the Galaxy pack set, rather, and it reads, when a player discards a card from their hand, you may deal 2 damage to a unit or base. Use this ability only once each round. The next one we have is Unrefusable Offer, also from Shadows of the Galaxy. It reads, attached to a non-leader unit. Attached unit gains bounty. Play this unit from its owner's discard pile or capture for free under your control. It enters plays ready at the start of the regroup phase. You defeat it. And then the next one we have is I Have the High Ground from the Twilight of the Republic. That's the last set that came out prior to Jump to Lightspeed. It reads, choose a friendly unit for this phase. While that unit is defending, the attacker gets a -4 attack, -0. Next one is Sly Moore from Twilight of the Republic, and it reads, when played, take control of an enemy token unit and ready it at the start of the regroup phase. That token's unit's owner takes control of it. And then the last one we have is Wingman Victor 3, brand new from Jump to Lightspeed, and it reads, when played as an upgrade, you may give an experience token to a unit other than that attached unit.
I didn't understand why they had to clarify that one. Like, yeah. I'll be honest with you, I was confused when they had that in there.
They didn't really have to clarify any of these because they are like functionally exactly the same, right? I mean, Slime Wars was literally just a typo.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were confused, like when do you give out the experience? Like, do you give it before and then you attach them onto the ship and kind of stuff? It's pretty clear to me, but you know,
yep. How would you ever be able to do that?
Not gonna get into it.
Like, you can't, like, your pilot can't complete the piloting action aspect, like the text for it, until it's on the unit. Okay.
They just did it for clarification, just to make sure people really understand what's going on. Right. Actually, I Have the High Ground changed slightly-ish. The original one is choose a friendly unit. Each enemy unit gets -4, -0 while attacking that unit this phase. They, like, some people might think that just means all the enemy units that are currently in play. So if you play something with an ambush, it wouldn't get the -4, -0. And this one is clarifying. Yes, it does. It's each enemy, regardless if they existed before or after. So that one is like
that's a bigger change.
Yeah, it's not like necessarily a change. It's just like very explicit. No, literally everyone attacking them this turn just gets -4.
Yeah, because I think before we ruled that last pre-release, I think we ruled that if the unit wasn't in play at the time, it didn't affect it. So,
right. And this is more in line with presumably the spirit of the card, right?
Yeah. This makes more sense.
The other way, they would type it the other way.
Yeah. This makes a lot more sense. So.
Yeah, and like Bo-Katan really just says, hey, you can ping the same unit again. Like people were a little bit confused if they could do that or not, or if it's like two separate things. The Blizzard Assault was like, hey, if you attack and defeat the enemy unit, deals excess damage. Now it's just like deal excess damage because that requires you to defeat the unit. So they're like not future proofing anything. It's just more like, guys, this is how this works. We're just gonna have a sort of a set template for how we're gonna word things. Yeah. So they're all functionally the same.
Fair enough. Let's move on to some of the other things that you had on there. The first one you had is abilities that say can't be damaged means prevent all damage. What does that one mean, Alex?
So that is like for shields mostly. Like, and like the TIE Phantom. When those abilities mean, hey, they can't be damaged, it means like it prevents all that damage that's doing to it. But like indirect damage is specifically unpreventable damage. So it does hit things like the Phantom or hits units and then they take damage under the shields, which is kind of cool. It leads to a little bit kind of weird scenarios, but hey, if you have a Devastator out, you just be like, I'm going to put 2 damage on the Village Protectors. Regardless if they have a shield, they're gone now. So that's all that, like, some people, like, you get a lot of questions. Hey, is this hit Phantoms? And hey, what happens to my shields? And this is like, literally can't mean damaged. Just basically means you prevent all the damage. And and unpreventable damage is more unpreventable than preventable. I don't know how to describe it. So indirect always hits people. Nothing can stop it. Which leads it into the next point, where it says indirect damage is totally unpreventable and can't be given to a unit in excess of their health, which actually includes like Chariot from set 1. Like you drop him to 0, he can't take more damage than that, which is kind of wild.
Sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this, hey, it goes under shields, but it doesn't destroy them because it's unpreventable.
Which is weird because if you think about how that would work if we were playing X-Wing, like it doesn't work like that very often, Like there's
a couple cards
they have those one bombs or whatever. The one is it concussion bomb? I think they're concussion bomb.
Yeah.
Do that, which was crazy, but we very quickly learned how to get around those in X-Wing.
And it's weird because like if you take like the Blizzard Assault AT-AT, where it's like, hey, all the excess damage is done somewhere else, it doesn't trigger for Chariot because Chariot eats all that damage. And he goes essentially in the negatives, but like you can't do that with indirect damage.
No. Which I found the best was during the pre-release weekend. Like if somebody had indirect damage and was attacked, like they would be like, "Oh, you got to do indirect damage." It's like, okay, well, who are you attacking? You have to declare your attack. Well, no. Just tell me. Just put the indirect damage first. No.
You're gonna declare your attack, and then the on attack is what does stuff.
Yep, you're going to do that. You're going to declare your attack, and then I'm going to determine if I don't care if your unit lives or dies.
I'm going to put that indirect damage on the unit you're attacking because you're going to kill it anyways. Screw you, Dengar.
Yep. So I did have that. I actually did have that. That came up at least once or twice with people, and like that's going to be a very big important one because like if you have a unit that's got 4 health and they do 3 indirect damage and they're attacking it anyway, what do you like? Why don't eat extra damage? Just, like let your unit die.
Yeah, just remember to do the on attack stuff before you do the attack stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing. So here's another one. Some cards specify how you play a card from your deck or discard. Like U-Wing reinforcements, you can only play pilots that you draw as units. You can't attach them as upgrades because it specifies units. A Fine Edition specifies upgrades. You can play them as upgrades despite other rulings saying that shouldn't work that way, but they made the exception for this. Interestingly, Cobb Vanth just says play the card that you put it in the discard pile. So it can either be played as a unit or the upgrade, as long as it meets like the cost requirements for its ability, right? So think more small things like R2-D2 and not like Chewbacca.
Yeah. Which is crazy because, like, I don't know why a Fine Edition would let you play pilots as I don't like that
shouldn't.
at all. Because it's clearly designed for the other, right? Like it's clearly designed like a dorsal turret or a stupid lightsaber for Grievous. That's what it's designed for.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that a little bit because I'm gonna skip right ahead because it's related to this, and then I'll jump back to this point. One of the things is pilots are considered a unit in out of play zones, like the discard pile, so you can't collect them with like the set 2 Razor Crest because they're units when they're not in the zones. Except for a fine edition, which they said works that way because we're FFG and that's how we want it to work. Because they are a unit and they're out of play zones, but they specifically pointed out that a fine edition can play them as upgrades.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is what it is. Yeah, and then Cobb Vanth, they're just like, yeah, we didn't really intend on him working like that, but we wrote cards, so that's how it's going to play. So, which is kind of crazy. Here's another interesting one. Cards that are currently in the ground arena are considered ground units, even if they were space units previously, like Blue Leader, right? Where there's the 3/3 ambush, or you could pay 2 extra, then put it on the ground and give it 2 experience. They're considered ground units when they're on the ground. So things like Shoot Down that only damage space units won't actually hit Blue Leader when Blue Leader is on the ground. But other things that hit ground units like Greedo or Bloodsport or whatever, that will hit them when they're on the ground. Initially, I believe we had this. We asked this question, and I'm just like, well, it says space unit on the card, so I would assume they'd still be space units. Nope. If they're ground units, or if they're in the ground arena, they are considered ground units regardless of what the card says.
I guess that kind of makes sense. Like if you think about like how the pilots work, right? You have Poe that could be a pilot, but also a ground unit, and he's not a pilot unit on the ground. He's a ground leader unit. So...
Right, but Blue Leader is a space unit, and now it's on the ground.
But because it's no longer a space unit, it's on the ground.
The card says space unit, so that's why I initially thought it would just be a space unit, but it's not. It's considered a ground unit.
It landed and it's driving over the terrain, shooting things.
Yeah, those wheels.
It's got landing gear.
So anything in the space arena is considered a space unit. Anything in the ground, any unit in the space zone, space arena is considered a space unit. Any unit in the ground arena is considered a ground unit, regardless of what it says on the card. Kind of weird, a little counterintuitive, but I'm glad they clarified that. Also, they specified that tokens now trigger when played abilities. Now they give them all like when created abilities, which didn't used to be how it works, but now it does. So it works with things like set 1 wedge that gives all your vehicles +1/+1 in ambush when played. If you create X-wing tokens or TIE fighter tokens, they also get +1/+1 in ambush now.
That's pretty sweet. I
Yeah,
gotta put him even out of aspects Thrawn. Yeah, so good.
No, JJ, you're not going to play him out of aspect and throw.
Yeah,
it's only out of one aspect. Okay,
all right.
It only costs 7.
Exactly.
Next up, they said that pilots have the split text box very clearly, and that they have separate abilities depending on where they're played, but are considered to have the full text box. So, like, like Vader unit, right? You can play them as a ground, or you can attach them up, like any pilot. Some of them have abilities, like Mandalorian we were talking about, right? If you play him on the ground, he exhausts 2 ground units. So that's an ability. He doesn't get that when he's an upgrade, and he doesn't get the upgrade ability when he's a ground unit. But they have the full text box. So like Hero Boba from set 2, that because piloting is a keyword, that will trigger Boba when they're played as a unit. So
which I think that makes like that's so for a guy that works in like I do programming and coding sometimes, like that makes complete sense because it's like I have one big box that's encompassing the 2 smaller things, and that's how you would build a code set.
Right. Like the unit still has the keyword piloting, it just doesn't get the piloting abilities if it's not piloting something.
Yeah, I didn't have that one come up at all this weekend, but that makes it, I guess nobody's playing Boba Hero, so
I hope not.
you don't have to worry about that. And I don't know if there's anything in set 4. I don't remember anything that would trigger that where we would have to be concerned about something like that. I
don't believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be relevant if they're trying to like play them on ground and they're like trying to use the upgrade stuff, but that's just them not reading. Up next is that pilots are considered an alternate cost. Like smuggle is an alternate cost. So things that allow you to play stuff, you can't use the alternate cost for. Like you can't, like before in set 2, you couldn't smuggle out a bamboozle for free by discarding a yellow card from your hand. This one is very specifically saying, hey, you can't play pilots by smuggling them out because you're already using the smuggle cost as the alternate cost to play the card. You can't use that and then also try to use an additional separate cost to put them as an upgrade.
So it's like a tech thing, right? Like this applies with tech.
Yeah, anything with an alternate cost. But yeah, if tech gives them smuggle, because there's no pilots that have smuggle for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if you have tech out, you couldn't smuggle out pilots and use them as upgrades.
Which I think is huge, because if they could, can you imagine what that Han deck could do? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I was gonna say, did you already build a deck around that, Alex, before you found out that?
No, because I remembered that you couldn't use the alternate cost for bamboozle when smuggling. So up next, when a pilot is defeated, it like looks to see how it existed when it was in play. That is mostly for Gar-Saxon, right? If you had a pilot and it dies, and it was attached to a vehicle, it was an upgrade when it was defeated, so you can bounce it back to your hand with Gar-Saxon, because you can take upgrades back with Gar-Saxon when he's out as a leader. Obviously, it doesn't work if your ground unit is also a pilot and it died, because he was a unit when he was played.
Mm-hmm. So what happens if people don't remember that? Like okay, so like Luke unit, for example, right? I guess you wouldn't be playing Luke unit and Gar-Saxon though, so I don't know if that even mattered. But like a Luke unit, when it moves over to the ground and then gets killed, you can't use Gar-Saxon's ability to get him back, right?
It's basically how they last existed, I guess, in that thing. Okay. Even if it was like the same turn, like you killed Luke on a ship and then killed him on the ground. It's like when he was last was.
Okay.
Around. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but they specified bounties are not considered when defeated abilities. When defeated needs to be on the card itself. So like you can't kill cartel turncoat and then like try to trigger Thrawn Trice to draw 2 cards. JJ. Just remember, bounties are not when defeated. But also, it kind of affects other things that are like when defeated is also a very specific trigger. Like set 1 Gideon Hask. Like his ability is when an opponent's unit is defeated, you can give 1 experience somewhere. You can't double trigger that
because it's an opponent's unit, not yours.
Yeah, because it's not a when defeated. It's is when something is defeated. It's not triggering a when defeated ability.
Yeah,
right.
Which is why he's not in my deck. Yeah,
so tragic. So also, here's a big one. They actually said, hey, when something loses an ability, it means loses and just doesn't gain it for the rest of the phase. So, like, if you force lightning something, right? Crate drag. You force lightning a crate dragon, you don't have enough resources to kill it. They can't just be like, oh, look, I put protector on it. Now it gains sentinel. It will just lose. It loses all of its abilities and prevents it from gaining anymore.
Which is nice because that was a bit. I don't know how big of an issue, but that did become kind of an issue a little bit at a place I was at. Because it's like, it's like, well, what if I play something to make it sentinel again?
Right. Like, hey, I lost the sentinel from Spec Force Gunner. I want to regain it. They can't.
Yeah.
Or, well, specifically, they can't regain the Sentinel. It's just weird. And also, the last one, super niche. Don't do this at all. But in the event that you play a mercenary gunship, the 3/2 2-space unit that your opponent can buy off of you for 4 resources, if you play that and then put your leader on it, and your opponent decides to pay the 4 resources to take control of the mercenary gunship, you can't control an opponent's leader. But also they ruled that you both of them die. Like, you just lose the mercenary gunship in its totality, and the leader. Like, you bought them, and then a black hole opened and sucked away everything. And I don't even know what happened. My initial assumption would have been like the leader just dies, but no, it's just both of them because FFG said so.
That's hilarious. That's great.
I mean, that would be like the most niche, desperate thing you could do, right? Like, what do you?
Yeah.
Just play them on the ground, people, I guess.
Just play them on the ground. Yeah.
Is there other ships that you can take control of? Like, can you trade it? You can't Traitorous because it's a non-leader. So
that's the only one, because everything else is like, if you're going to take control of a card, it says non-leader. Traitorous, Change of Heart, all that stuff. All of them specify non-leader. And I guess they didn't future-proof a set in set 2 saying, hey, you can't buy this mercenary gunship off your opponent if it's also a leader. Because... yeah, I would like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that would just break that. That would go against every principle they have.
Right. Like, you can't control their leader or anything. You can't have like a bidding war back and forth or who gains your opponent's person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they both die. No really further explanation of why both of them are defeated, but that's just how they say it.
Which is kind of weird. You just couldn't keep the ship, I guess. But I guess
that would be my initial assumption. It's just like, oh, the leader's defeated. Like, if he bamboozles like a leader or confiscate it, right? Like, well, you killed the leader.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems odd to me. You know, like, it would almost just, it would be better to just done an errata that you can't purchase that ship anymore. It's just let the leader live on it. You just can't purchase it.
That's just not a good idea in general. Like, don't put like really expensive, really nice upgrades on your mercenary gunship where your opponent has resources they can buy from.
No, it's like a Pelp thing. Come on, man. Like, people like to put lightsabers on Yoda, and then I just claim and steal their Yoda with Pelp, and it's like, thank you. I'll take that.
Hey, my opponent put a lightsaber on Bendu with a damage. And then I flipped Palp, swung with Bendu, and played a Crate Dragon for cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That's even crazier.
That was rough.
But yeah, that's why I don't know. I think I think some of that people will have to learn and get used to some of these. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, most of them, like, with the exception of a Find Edition, all of it like makes sense.
Except for the Mercenary Gunship, that still doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure. Your opponent doesn't make sense if they're putting their leader on it. That's what doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I put a leader on a Swarming Vulture the other day, so
I did it too with Vader.
Yeah,
that's swinging in for 8, man. Leave me alone. But yeah, so it's they mostly make sense, but this is like clarifications and like, hey, this like niche thing, Cobb Vanth happens to work this way because we didn't write the card correctly. So here it is. There you go. We're just gonna do it.
Yeah, we'll see how long. I guess because Cobb Vanth rotates out, maybe they're a little bit less worried about it than some of the other ones. Like,
yeah, I think, and like Cobb Vanth isn't like, you know, a meta monster staple card. You know. No.
I mean, I did have him in my Throne deck for sure. I'm gonna reconsider it, but
no, now you could play pilots off of it, JJ.
Yeah, so when you can play that stupid what's the one that's like the Sentinel one that's like a 1/2 or whatever for 1 or 2 costs.
The indoctrinated Academy dude. I forgot what it was. Yeah, the 1/2 for 1.
Yeah, and he costs the same no matter whether he's an upgrade or a unit, and he's a set build. So there you go. Like, it's great for COD Band. I don't know. So, well, all right. We're going to wrap the episode up for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. Next week, we'll be talking a little bit about maybe some of the other cards to kind of look out for that could upset you for your leaders, like Bamboozled, for example. We won't get into it tonight, but Bamboozled is pretty big. So we'll build a list of some of the cards that we feel you really should be looking out for. We'll talk a little bit about, upgrade hate as well next week. Is it something that we should be considering putting in there? Is it more of a sideboard card? We just got to have a conversation a little bit around that, because I think that that's going to be a big thing going into store champ season and PQ season. Is like, do you want to run all this or not? I've traditionally ran upgrade hate, but I also run a lot of control, so it's just natural for me to do that. But is it going to be worth it? Are we better off to find units that trade versus creating upgrade hate? And a good example of that is like a Fang Fighter, right? Like Fang Fighter gets rid of that, and you get a unit so that you can put a pilot on now, by the way. So
yeah, it's really interesting. It's like, do I want the 1 cost confiscate? Do I want the 2 cost power failure? Do I want the 3 cost disabling Fang Fighter? Or the 4 cost aggression?
Yeah. See, there you go. So I think that's a conversation I kind of wanted to have once the set had got released. So now that the set's released, we're going to talk a little bit about upgrade hate next week, as well as some of the cards to be on the lookout for that are going to have interactions that are going to make you not super happy when they exist. So with that being said, don't forget, go like, subscribe, hit that video up for all these tokens. I don't know how many I have. I have at least 9 tokens, if not 12 tokens to give away. And we'll be giving away
too.
And they're Curl Paw. Yep.
Which was very fantastic. He got to start doing like X-Wing acrylic, and they're always very high quality. And he got a bunch of other games now, including Swoo.
Yeah. Yeah, we've supported him since like the X-Wing days. Like all my tokens are Curl Paw, ironically enough, from X-Wing days. So except for the metal ones. He didn't make metal ones, so there you go. I have a couple of metal ones that are not made. But anyway, long story short is check out our video. They're amazing. If you want to buy some, we'll have a link in the description anyway of that video where you could go buy some if you don't want to win some. But hopefully you just hit the subscribe button and you get chosen as one of the random winners. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the Flippity Flop.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.